Hello and welcome to IT Leadership Insights by Future Processing. If you are a CIO, CTO or another senior IT executive, this program is right for you because we are going to talk about how to make IT outsourcing strategy right and how to make the most of it. We'll talk with senior IT leaders to gain their perspective on the industry and we'll get them to share their ideas and insights. So please bear with me. My name is Jarosław Granat and my guest today is Chief Operating Officer of ProSource IT, a managed IT service provider from the UK's top 100 CIO finalist in 2017, and a person I learned a lot from, Mark Aikman. Hello, Mark.
Hello there.
Mark, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Sure. Well, you did a very good introduction. So I am the Chief Operating Officer for ProSource. Previously to that, I've been a CIO and I've worked for many international companies doing large-scale transformations.
All right. Thanks for the introduction, Mark. It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
Since you've got all the international experience, I was wondering how it is like to engage with a company that is abroad, because I imagine it must be a bit of a challenge. What do you think?
It can be. It can be. But I think if you are careful with your selection, if you find a company who matches the kind of culture of the company that you work for, shares similar sort of beliefs, and if the team that you engage with are enthusiastic about what you're trying to do, and if you are clear with the objective that you're trying to do, whether it be creating a new product or whether it be to support an existing product or whatever it happens to be, I think being very clear with your partner. Yeah. So what I mean by partner is obviously the company you engage with. I think ultimately, and assuming that company can deliver, because ultimately that's what it's all about, then I absolutely believe that you can work with any companies wherever they happen to be based in the world. You are going for their expertise because they happen to be in X country. From my perspective, on an international stage, it doesn't matter.
Okay, so a lot of preparations at the beginning, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think obviously carrying out a degree of due diligence on the marketplace you're in, carrying out due diligence on the type of supplier, the type of company that you want to do business with is important. So have they obviously done work within your area? Have they got existing clients that are similar to what you are trying to achieve? What kind of innovation are they demonstrating? And ultimately, what do their customers think of them?
Yeah, very important. So if you already set up the relationship, how do you take it from that to a real partnership? And what does actually partnership mean in this context?
Really good question, and a lot of hard work.
A lot of hard work.
A lot of hard work. So for me, partnership is very much about trust.
Okay.
It sounds simple, but in reality, it takes a lot of hard work from, both from a senior management perspective in terms of being able to, I guess, trust that you're going to do the right thing by both companies, but also by the team itself. And I think delivery, as I said before, is critical. You've got to be able to show progress. Team working as well is a big thing for me, especially when you are working overseas. And again, depending on the time zone of the team or teams, depending on where you are, getting the teams to come to obviously the partner and work in their offices is critical. Getting the partner to come to the customer's office, and I think both in terms of workshops, in day-to-day work, but also from a social perspective as well, getting to understand each other, especially when you've got different cultures potentially involved in that, I think is critical. And I think when you, my typical kind of pattern is the first 3 months, it's a bit like going on first week, it's a bit like going on a date. You're a bit nervous, you don't know what to expect. You either like that company or that person, or you don't. You find a mutual ground in which to share common interests. And over a period of about 3 months, you begin to establish its natural footing. And whether that be at a very technical level, so people who are very technical get to share their passion, or whether from a management perspective you begin to understand a bit more about what it is you're trying to achieve, and that becomes more clearer. It is really about everyone understanding what the common goal is, working towards that common goal, and after about 3 months, it'll either work or it won't. And that's the key thing. And I think for me, when you've got that period of settling in, work through, the natural kind of working order will begin to happen, and then you should start seeing the results. And then also a big word as well for me, and a big thing I look for, is innovation. And innovation doesn't necessarily mean product.
Okay.
It could mean innovation in terms of working practices. So for example, we may work in a certain style, you may work in a certain style. Combined, we could come up with new working practices which would be innovative. So what I mean by that is, obviously in an office it's easy to do face-to-face time, but when you're obviously working with providers or suppliers over shore, things like Skype, working on Skype is a skill set as well. And that could be quite innovative if you've never done it before. So innovation can take many different forms other than just actually creating something.
You mentioned the delivery part for a few times. Would you say that it's kind of a foundation for everything that you do and require from a supplier?
Yeah, without delivery, the rest is academic.
Okay.
It's as simple as that. I think delivery, everyone's under pressure. The whole world's under pressure to deliver something. And in modern day IT, the digital tsunami that is coming across everyone at the moment, you have to be seen to be bringing to market new products or changes to the way that you do things. I think it's a great time to be involved in IT, a really great time and a really exciting time, because I think for once IT is now becoming the real underpinnings of most companies, if they're honest. And kind of companies who ignore it at their peril, well, there's many examples of companies who have kind of used tech to really explore their business and grow their business. And I think that's all based on delivery. If you can't deliver and regularly deliver, so I mean the great thing with Agile as an example of a development methodology is, if you do the typical 2-week sprint, you do your show and tell. That's a great opportunity not only to showcase what the tech teams have done, but also to get the customer, whoever your stakeholder, involved in that, and to show demonstrable progress. And for me, if you can constantly show progress, both to your teams who are developing it, but also to the business or the customer who's going to consume it, then that's a great way to move forward.
Okay, you've mentioned pretty much of important things like partnerships, relations, delivery, innovation, trust. But what about one particular subject that we have not touched yet, the cost? Because I know that for some companies it's of the most importance, and for some not necessarily. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, very few companies work in a limitless, budget environment. There's, I certainly haven't had that luxury of that. So cost is definitely a consideration. It has to be. You can't ignore cost. But I think it's like anything. Most businesses will set a budget for whatever they're trying to do in terms of their project. But I think if you can demonstrate delivery, as we've talked about, and if you find the right partner, then cost obviously is a factor. But any CEO or anyone who's ultimately got the cost as their accountability, if they can demonstrate progress and see great results, then the cost conversation is always a secondary conversation if you're delivering. Cost is a primary conversation if you're not delivering because how much have I spent and why haven't I got, as opposed to look at that, isn't that amazing, I want X, it's going to cost Y, that's fine because you're delivering.
Yeah,
so I think for me, cost, if you're looking to go nearshoring or offshoring, in the past has been a major consideration because it's been a lot cheaper. I don't think that's necessarily the case moving forward, but I think cost is always secondary to quality and obviously delivery.
Okay, so if we were to sum it up, what are top 3 pieces of advice from Mark Aikman for a company that is about to start nearshoring and building partnerships?
Yeah, good question. My experience, my opinion, obviously.
Yes, please do.
Understand your culture,
Okay.
the company you work for. So understand that culture first. Understand your team, the team that you've got, including the business team. That's my second point. Well, actually, they're probably first and second. Understand what you're trying to do. So what is the customer expectation? Whether it be that an internal customer or whether that obviously be your external customer. Because if you don't know really what you're trying to do, it's quite difficult to try and build it. And then thirdly, once you've understood that, once you've understood what the team you've got, find a partner who you can work with. That's critical. Carry that due diligence. Understand what your customer wants, and then finally deliver it.
All right. Thank you for that summary, Mark, and for the whole chat.
You're welcome.
It was really interesting and very informative, so I believe that our viewers will like it too.
And thank you, the viewers, for watching the first episode of IT Leadership Insights by Future Processing. If you found that useful, please do not hesitate to share it and recommend it via LinkedIn, Twitter, email, whatsoever. And if there is anything you'd like us to cover in next episodes, please drop us a line. Thank you once again, and see you in the next episode.